How you doing today? It's me, David, coming to you from the Beatles Corner. We are collecting the Beatles 101. You know what? It's been a while, so I'm kind of gotten a little rusty at doing these YouTube videos. It's been like 3 months. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, it's been like 3 months since I uploaded or done a video. Last, after my last series of videos on that Beatles BC13 box set from 1978. Those are all my final upgrades. So, excuse me, I haven't really gone out of the way to really look for anything new. I'm satisfied with those as final upgrade versions of my British album collection. So nothing. Plus, I've had so much stuff going on in personal life around here. It's not even funny. But you know what? There is an announcement in the last week or so from Apple that there's a new box set on the horizon coming in, I think, November 22nd. The box set is going to hit, and the records in that box set, for the most part, are going to be available individually as well. So here's what we got. It is going to be the Beatles 1964 U.S. Capitol records in this box set. So this box set is going to contain Meet the Beatles, the Beatles' second album, the United Artists A Hard Day's Night album, which was then subsequently released by Capitol in 1980 once EMI absorbed the United Artists and Liberty and associated labels. Something new. Let's see. Beatles 65. The early Beatles, which was released in March of 65, actually. But it should be included in this box set, and I'll tell you why when we get to that. And in the box, the Beatles story, 2-record set, documentary, a narrative and musical biography of Beatlemania on 2 long play records. But that's available in the box set. The other records, these other albums, are going to be also available individually for sale. Target even will be issuing a blue vinyl version of Meet the Beatles. Very excited, actually, about this. I went back this morning and listened to my Beatles second album. Oh, and like I said, all of them are in mono. Not the official, digitized, clean sounding mono, but these are the Dave Dexter Capitol version songs. So you're getting the little bit more extra echo and the life and all that on these records. And so again, I went back and listened to several of these records this morning as I was trying to do some straightening up. But if you looked at my room here, it's a disaster. But enough of that. So again, all these except for the Beatles story will be available individually. The box set is $300 retail here in the US. Each of the records will be $30, which is actually a pretty darn good value. I was hoping around maybe $25, but you're going to get, real reissues, the liner notes, album covers, even the inner sleeves to the original pressings of these albums is going to be replicated and included for $30. I did a quick search on eBay, and going to my local record store looking for these records in mono. I mean, for vintage pressings, you're looking at like between $20 and $35 for a clean, pristine original copy. But these records were played to death. So, $30 is a pretty good deal. Um, so I'm kind of on the fence. It'd be nice to get the box set for collectibles' sake, but for $30 a record, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records at $30 each. That's $180. So then you're paying an extra $120 for the Beatles story and a box. I think they pressed this on into the 70s. So this is a pretty common record. You should be able to find it pretty readily online or at your local record store. I'm not sure if it was ever issued in stereo. So save yourself $120, forget the box. And I listened to this record twice in my lifetime. Once when I was a kid, I listened to my cousin's copy, and then some years ago, I found a copy at, I don't remember, it was a thrift store or at an estate sale. Didn't pay that much for it. Listened to it once, and that was it. Maybe twice, because I think when I reviewed it, I listened to it again. So and I've watched some other YouTube channels, Parlogram, I've listened, and then there's Vinyl Rewind, and one or two others where they've gone into what they're going to be buying, and I kind of agree with them. So here's what my wish list is. And I would just get these, just have clean, pristine mono copies. Meet the Beatles. That way I can save this vintage vinyl and not really play it as much, or if at all, because these are not digital sourced. They're going back, from what I understand, back to the original Capitol tapes and mastering from that. I would meet the Beatles. My copy of the Beatles' second album, Long Tall Sally, has a little scratch in it, so it pops and skips a little bit. So I'd like to replace that with a fresh mono copy. Man, something new. I'd buy 2 copies of this just so I could have a pristine copy with a pristine cover on it for display, because this is one of my favorite Beatles album covers that have ever released anywhere. And the same thing with Beatles 65. It's just one of my favorite covers. I really enjoy it. So those 4 I would definitely buy. I'm on the fence with the early Beatles. They are, from what I remember, I did not listen to this copy this morning, but I do believe they're more of the Dexterized, I think it was a stereo fold-down mono. And you can tell that because Please Please Me, the stereo version at the end of the song has John and Paul goofing up on the lyrics a little bit. The true mono version does not. It's a clean run through. But it would be cool to have just for those versions of the songs. So now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's $150. But I'd be on the fence with the early Beatles. The Beatles' Hard Day's Night is a nice curiosity to have. I've got a mono copy. I've got a stereo copy. I wouldn't need it. And the Beatles story, let's just throw that over there. Now, on some channels, they're like, hey, you know what? Instead of issuing the early Beatles, why didn't Capitol just issue like a reissue of Introducing the Beatles? And I think there's a couple of reasons why I'm glad they're not doing that. Because Introducing the Beatles, basically, the true mono copies of the true introducing, not the counterfeits, but the true VJ versions, just they worked from the British masters. There is no Dave Dexter at VJ, so there's no echo, there's no unique mixes or mastering or whatever you want to call it. So why issue the Please Please Me album now and taking off two of the songs? Either you're taking off Please Please Me and Ask Me Why for the first version, um, or for the second version of this album, you're removing Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You. Why do it? Why? Or even if they were to issue the same album, the Please Please Me album, but with this, front cover and back cover, and there was different versions of the back cover. Why do that? Pretty redundant. And nowadays, you can find copies of Introducing the Beatles, legit copies, for not that much anymore. And it used to be really sought after and pretty expensive, but now I've got like 5 copies of it, pretty easy to find. Which makes sense with the early Beatles because you do have running orders that are unique to this album. You have those Dave Dexterized, I'll just say mixes, reprocess, whatever, that will be unique to this album. And, and then it's redundant, even though they're copying songs from A Hard Day's Night onto something new. Then you're duplicating song. You're duplicating, like, I Saw Her Standing There, and why? Just keep the unique album. It's a pretty, to me, it's kind of a useless album, but with a reissue, I think it's going to be pretty, pretty cool to have that again. So listening to these albums this morning really was really nostalgic. It helped me to really get back into the every time I listen to any of these, I feel like I'm a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s again, listening to these albums. It just stirs emotions. I think, too, for the modern collector that hasn't really been exposed to these albums per se, whether they're outside the US or they're like millennials, Gen Zs, whatever, the young ones coming into listening to Beatles music again can kind of get a taste of what we experienced, whether you were, a teenager in the 60s or like me, born in the 60s, and you were raised with these albums. Just a different experience, and it's not going to cost too much. I'm glad Apple is issuing these albums singly. It actually is going to work out cheaper than buying the box set. But then again, the box set may become sought after, or it may just come down in price after a while and be more readily available. For $300, I don't really see the sense in buying that box set personally myself. So there you have it. That's all I gotta say about this. Listening to the albums I listened to this morning, especially Beatles 65, I shouldn't say just all 3 of them. I would say Beatles' second album sounds really unique. You got that reverb, you got echo. It sounds like a live album. That's what Dave Dexter was going for. I mean, even the cover itself looks like it's a concert poster kind of thing. And I just love these albums. Yeah. And they are, I will say, I've said this before, they are more compilation albums than, straight reissues of the British albums. But some of them, I think, are vast improvements over the British counterparts. I would take Meet the Beatles over With the Beatles any day of the week. Yeah, so anyway, there you go. You can experience Beatlemania the way everyone did in the 60s and 1964 with these Capitol albums being reissued in on vinyl, heavyweight vinyl, the original analog Capitol mixes, not digitized, not on, just the way Dave Dexter wanted them to be presented. So I'm actually excited. I want to buy a few of these and just see how they stack up and compare and sound with these original pressings. So we will leave it there. If you grew up like I did with these albums here in the States, are you planning on buying fresh copies? These have been out of print since like the mid 80s. So for the first time, basically in almost 40 years, we'll be getting these freshly minted albums again. My only complaint is that they're being pressed in France. As a, I guess, a purist, I was hoping that there would be an American pressing plant that would be pressing these, but I guess they're too few and far in between anymore, huh? And if Capitol even owns any, I would assume they do, but anyway, let me know what you think. Are you planning on buying the box set? Planning on buying the individual albums? What do you think? Are you excited by this news? Let me know in the comments, and we'll leave it there. So until next time, it's me, David, coming to you from the Beals Corner. We are collecting the Beals 101. I will catch you on the flip side. Happy collecting, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully it won't be another 3 months that goes by. So talk to you later. Thanks so much for watching.